Welcome to the IT Masters Podcast, where technology leaders share their strategies shaping the future of IT. Hosted by Robert DeVita, CEO of Mejeticks, we bring you candid conversations with CIOs, CTOs, and enterprise architects who are driving digital information, from AI-driven security to cloud innovation and IT modernization. We cut through the noise to bring you real insights from the brightest minds in tech. No sales pitches, no fluff, just thought-provoking discussions with the masters of IT. Subscribe now and join the conversation. The IT Masters Podcast, where the best in IT share their journey.
Today we're doing something a little different, and I couldn't be more excited about it. We're handing the mic over to the next generation of talent who are already making waves here at Mejeticks. Joining me on the show are three sharp, driven students from TCU who are spending their summer interning with us in Dallas. Camille Ferachi, Lindsey, Gattis, and Avery, Copple. Welcome, guys. If you take a second and just introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Avery. I'm a strategic communications major at TCU with a business minor, and I'm in the sales center and pursuing sales at Mejeticks.
I'm Camille Ferachi. I am also a strategic communications major at TCU with a minor in psychology and entrepreneurship and innovation, and I am the marketing intern this summer at Mejeticks.
Hi, my name is Lindsey Gattis. I'm one of the business development interns at Mejeticks. I'm from Orange County, California. Just finished my sophomore year up at TCU studying marketing and finance.
In this episode, we get into why they chose Mejeticks, what are they learning, and how they're already using technology, both in school and now in a professional setting, to stay ahead, stay connected, and make an impact. This is all about fresh eyes, curiosity, and the future of our industry from the people who help shape it. So let's get into it. All right, ladies. What, if anything, first sparked your interest in technology?
For me, my dad's in sales, so I've been introduced to the world my whole life, but I kind of wanted to veer away from what he did. And when I heard about Mejeticks and the technology industry, it was just something that sparked my interest, and I wanted to learn more about it because it's evolving and changing every day.
I would definitely agree with the fact that it's changing and evolving. I do not have any sort of connection or experience in the tech world specifically, but whenever this opportunity opened, I was super open-minded to it and excited to get to learn more, and I've definitely already learned a lot and am just consuming so much information, and it's opened my eyes up in new ways, and I am excited to continue to learn this summer.
I agree with growing up around it and being naturally interested in it. Both my parents are in technology sales, so I also think it's interesting because there's something new every day with it, and you can work with a bunch of different types of customers because everyone needs to be using technology in some way, shape, or form.
Yep. So you guys are going to become, or may already be, large consumers, meaning you're going to spend, get out into the world, start spending a lot of money, buying things and interacting with different businesses that are selling you goods. So what we want to talk about is how do you guys communicate today? So how do you typically communicate with your friends, your family on a daily basis?
Text and honestly on Snapchat.
Yeah, I feel like since we grew up in the age that technology really boomed and developed, that's our main form of communication. I definitely use my phone as my first line of communication.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I started calling people until college. Like, I used to just only text, Snapchat, Instagram, send things, but now I'm, calling my parents and things like that. But I also think we communicate in funny ways through, like I said, sending Instagram reels or something like that.
Yep, it's funny. My daughter will be a sophomore at Alabama this year, and last year when she met her roommate, she was going out to Birmingham to go visit her for the first time before school started. And I asked her, I go, hey, have you talked to this girl? She goes, yeah, I've spoken to her. I go, you spoke to her on the phone? She's like, no. We've sent voice messages over Snapchat. It blew my mind.
Right.
But that's what we're talking about. How do you want businesses to interact with you? So let's take, for instance, your flight gets canceled, you're going someplace. Or you buy something and it's broken or the wrong item comes. what is the most preferred way that you want to interact with that company, right? Because, I used to call an 800 number, right? And I'd talk to somebody, and if that didn't work, I could send an email, and that may or may not get answered. What's your preferred way? It may not be the way that companies are interacting with you now, but ideally, how do you want them to communicate with you?
I would say personally, I'm a face-to-face person. I think that growing up with technology and having that kind of way of communication where you can hide behind a screen and talk behind a screen, for some people, they enjoy it and it works. But for me personally, I enjoy the relationship aspect of getting to know somebody face-to-face and communicating in that way. So I think that would be my personal preferred way.
So let's assume American Airlines does not want to talk to you personally,
Okay.
right? And your flight gets canceled. Would you rather call somebody, go on their website and use a chat bot, have them communicate with them over X or over Snapchat? Like, ideally, how do you want to interact with American Airlines?
I don't like chatbots, but I do think that some sort of personal way, like if that's an email to an actual person or a text message from an actual person, knowing that as a customer I'm being seen and essentially cared about from a more human aspect.
I agree with that. Like, I would rather pick up the phone and call them, but if I'm going to talk to a robot, I'd rather talk to a text robot. Like, it's my pet peeve when I pick up the phone, I have to go through press 1 and then you eventually get to a person 10 steps away.
I personally don't mind using the chatbot features. I feel like a lot of times, Rent the Runway is a good example. It's a clothing app that I use, and you can press a button on the chatbot to actually have like a live agent communicate with you, which I feel like is the most personal way, and it's the way I've gotten fastest responses. So that's probably my preferred method.
Got it. Social media. How do you guys get your news? Are you sitting down and watching? You're probably not reading the newspaper, right? Are you watching TV? Are you getting it, through social media? If so, what platforms? How are you consuming what's sort of going on in the world?
I listen to the Wall Street Journal 10-minute podcast every morning when I'm getting ready. I also get an email. What's it called? It's like the daily news. It's 5-minute scroll, whatever platform that is. So I do that intentionally, but subconsciously, I'm always getting things on TikTok, Instagram, that type of thing, and I think that's where I stay most up to date with like.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a common occurrence among everybody our age to be like, oh, on TikTok today I saw that this is happening in our world, or this is happening locally, or this is happening globally. And my parents will always be like, oh, TikTok told you that, because it's not always a reliable source. But I do think that social media, TikTok, Instagram, all of that does have its pros and cons and benefits of, I would say some people would never even consumed any information at all, but they are on TikTok. And it's all about where you're getting that information from on social media and who it's backed by. You do have to take the extra steps to click on the account, see if it's a reputable source. But I try to keep up with my current news. I think the people around me, like my family, do a good job at keeping me updated as a college student. But I will say I do look to social media at times for what's happening.
For me, growing up, every morning my parents would play the news like while we were eating breakfast or getting ready in the morning. So I feel like going to college, that was a little bit of a shift for me, not to have that constant like intake of that every morning. And so I feel like I've tried to really find the Instagram accounts that I feel like are giving out true information and following those and keeping up with that so that I can still feel as informed as I did in high school.
Got it. How many of you guys have TVs?
Me.
TVs in your bedrooms?
In
I do.
school,
I
not
never
at
turn
home.
it on.
But no cable on the TV.
Yeah, no
at
cable.
school.
No cable.
No cable.
Mm-mm.
YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Streaming platforms.
Got it. what is your device of preference, right? Is it your phone, your laptop? What are you spending most of your day using?
Phone, but if I have to type something or scroll through a website, I would rather be on a laptop.
I would agree with that. And then I would say if it came to school, I love my iPad. I take my notes on my iPad and do everything on my iPad. I love a touchscreen, but my phone is my most used item.
Definitely my phone. I also like my Apple Watch a lot, which I feel like is giving me notifications and instant news and sources immediately at the look of my wrist.
How much are you guys concerned about privacy? And, how many of you have open profiles versus closed profiles? How comfortable are you sharing, tagging a picture that you put up with your location? Does this stuff concern you? Do you worry about it? Or does it just, everyone does it, it just doesn't matter?
I think when you said like public versus private profiles, I'm more concerned about that because I know who can see that, what tag post I'm in. I'm concerned about that thing. But like when everything was going on with TikTok in China, like I could care less. My information's out there. Like that type of thing, maybe it should be on my radar because my information is somewhere, but that thing doesn't really cross my mind.
I think growing up, at least in my middle schools and high schools, we would do, like, people would come and talk to us about what privacy means in a technological sense and a social media sense, but it kind of always went in through one ear and out the other. It's something that I definitely think about, but I don't do anything about. Like, it goes through my mind, but I think you said it best, and it's unfortunate to admit it, but, like, everyone else is doing it, so it doesn't feel so wrong. If no one else was doing it, then it would feel wrong.
I think for me, the main thing that I get concerned about is passwords and stuff getting leaked because I don't want people to be able to log in to my bank account or to my Instagram account and post things, but I'm not as concerned about people seeing my location or anything like that. I have a private Instagram account for the reason that I feel like it is a better barrier to block bots and that kind of stuff from following me, but
Are you more concerned about your bank account getting broken into or your Snapchat history?
my bank account, honestly.
That's such an interesting question. I would say my bank account, but I mean, like Snapchat history is in like
As in-
your memories on Snapchat.
Or they get into your Snapchat account?
Oh. I think bank account, although that is a very
You
daunting
guys
thing
are
to
lying.
think about.
You guys are lying.
I wouldn't want someone
know.
posting stuff on my Snapchat. That's what freaks me
Yeah,
out.
I think Instagram is more. I would hate if somebody logged into my Instagram and like hacked it, and I had to get rid of it. I love.
From my
my
point of view,
Instagram.
like I think, especially having a daughter that went through Rush, like her Instagram was pristine.
Yeah, same.
And then you see what, and I don't have Snapchat, but you see the stuff that is recorded every 2 seconds of someone doing something stupid. Like that's just a repository of dumb stuff. Like I have to think that there's more things in Snapchat that you wouldn't want people to see than anywhere else.
Yeah. And if it gets hacked, you're letting everyone know that it's hacked and it's not you as fast as you can.
Yeah,
Right, you have to tell the
That's
whole world
true,
it's not
that's
me.
true.
Let's talk about how do you use technology in your daily lives. So you have an Oura Ring, an Apple Watch. How much are you using technology to help with your own personal fitness and health?
I got an Apple Watch for Christmas and I love it, and I'm a yoga instructor, and so I use it to time my entire class, to control all of the music, make sure that I'm not off or going over the time. So I feel like that's something that recently has impacted my everyday life and fitness routine.
I used to have an Apple Watch, and I think I kind of let it consume me. Like I was tracking everything on it. I wanted to reach my 10K steps every day, so I got rid of it. And now I don't rely or use that much technology. I do like look at, or I'll like use my phone to journal or write things down in my notes or track things on my calendar. But I still do like a handwritten agenda and stuff like that.
I do the same thing. I wouldn't say I rely on it, but I use it constantly. Like, I have the Aura ring, so tracks how long I work out, but do I really need that? Because I know how long I'm working out. And I put things in my calendar. I'm not really the type of person to forget things, but I'll put it in there and set a reminder no matter what. Like, I feel like I know my own resume, but if you ask ChatGPT, tell me everything about Lindsey, they would be able to tell you everything about myself. So I am using it and relying on it in different ways.
Yeah, I agree.
Constantly.
What's the one app on your phone that's not social media that you can't live without?
The clock app. I don't
yeah.
have a real clock in my room.
Okay.
I use my phone as my alarm. I don't have a clock honestly,
Time management.
anywhere in my room.
Yeah, calendar. Is that?
That counts. Yeah.
Calculator. Like, I don't know. You always need a calculator. When else you're not carrying around a calculator in your pocket.
Good thing you brought the calculator. And when I was growing up, right, it was a big thing that we were even allowed to use a calculator, right? We were doing long division and, memorizing things. And now I feel like you guys are sort of in the same inflection point with AI than I was with the calculator. And I'm like, I look back, I go, it's so dumb I couldn't use a calculator. It just saves so much time. And I have a calculator now for the rest of my life. So you guys are probably in the area, whether it was in high school or going through college, where AI was first being introduced and it was either allowed or not allowed. Do you have any examples of, like, if you were, in high school, were you not allowed to use it, but you are in some form at TCU?
Yeah, I would say in high school we weren't really allowed to use it, but we were subconsciously, because you said the calculator, we had photomath that would scan the equation and do it all for you. So we would do that. But now in college, it's almost encouraged, just being careful citing your things, and our professors want us to be able to use it and say you used it and what you prompted it to do and things like that.
I think for me, and I bet Camille can agree on this too, at TCU, the communication school, my freshman and sophomore year and some of last year was super against AI. If you were caught using it, you were in trouble. But having a business minor and being also in the business school, they really encouraged it there. So it was interesting seeing how the same school, but different colleges within the school had different views on it.
Got it.
Yeah, I would also say the same thing. I think we're in a really interesting time period where professors, maybe more traditional, maybe more in tune to adapting, have very different opinions. I've had professors with very polar opposite opinions on AI and whether I am allowed to use it or not in school. People are scared of it.
In high school, I would actually read the textbook and take detailed notes.
Me as well.
Now in
Me
college, I put it into ChatGPT or have it teach me it and give me even better notes that I can actually understand.
Are they teaching you how to use it at TCU, right? Are you learning how to prompt there? Are you learning how to use it in a responsible, correct manner?
I think that the professors, I heard them talking, they would go to seminars learning about what artificial intelligence is and how it can be used. But they're not doing a good job of introducing it to us and showing us how it can be a tool and aid us in excelling and succeeding in what we do. Instead, they are just as new to it as we are, so they're not great at mentoring us in how to help it aid us. But I do know, I had a class in Neely in the business school, and my professor did a wonderful job at introducing it to me and showing us different platforms of how to use it and do it the correct way.
So is there a class offered of intro to AI?
No.
I think now there's things like the FinTech certificate and things like that. But what you were saying, I almost disagree in a way that my marketing research class, for example, you're working with a client and a whole class, 10 minutes of every class was, okay, this is an example of a training prompt you should put into AI, and then these are the discovery questions that you would get out of it. So things like that would happen. One of my leadership classes, we were going through crucial conversations, and we had to think of a scenario and then have that conversation with ChatGPT. I feel like we're constantly using it in that, and I think I learned the most from just my friends sitting in Neely, the business school. I'm like, I don't know how to do this financial reporting homework, and my friend is using like Microsoft's version of AI, and I'm using ChatGPT and getting different answers, and we're honestly learning from each other more than that sense. But I think we are using it in the classroom as well.
I think being in the sales center at TCU too, they've taught me a lot about AI, a lot more than I've gotten from my major or really from any other class at TCU. They've been super helpful with having the newest information on how to use it to help you learn more rather than using it to take the easy way out of stuff.
Yeah, I can tell you it's an important part of what we do every day. And you guys see some of those the AI-enabled tools that we're using. But again, when we talk to publicly traded companies or even private companies, if you're not running this stuff through ChatGPT or Gronk or Gemini or Copilot, just to find out what's out there, what their key technology initiatives are, like those are the basics now, right? You can't really walk into a business meeting not knowing what someone's initiatives are because the information's out there, right? And it used to be take 2 weeks to get this information. You'd have to send somebody into a dungeon. They'd look through, actual papers, or they'd, comb websites themselves. It takes 2 minutes now, right? You're at a significant disadvantage in the world today if you're not using AI to help you do your job, right? It doesn't need to do your job for you, and it's not cheating. It's making you better and more efficient at what you're doing. And for me as a business owner, right, I want you to be as proficient and efficient as possible when we're trying to do stuff, right? So that, we try to leverage it a lot. Give me an idea of sort of how you guys have leveraged it so far at Mejeticks this summer in the week or two that you've been here.
I would say as a marketing intern, it helps generate new ideas. I think creativity comes and goes, and you can definitely get into creative rut, but in prompting ChatGPT, you can get new ideas that can jumpstart your already creative human mind, and you can leverage it in that way to better succeed in the marketing realm.
I think, one, making emails more brief and concise. That's something we struggle with, and that's helped a ton. But also, Mejeticks is a company that works with a ton of different vendors, and we're not experts, not even close to any of them. So using the Mejeticks GPT model, asking like what the value could be to this company. I know we were working with a company trying to go after them. ChatGPT, here's everything about this company. What would they value from working with us so that we can use that in our prospecting emails? If we get data on like what a company is interested in, using that to write almost a little value prop that I would never have come up with on my own.
That's been super helpful for me using the Mejeticks GPT to create emails to outreach to other people, and honestly just to get more information about the company itself. Or I've even been putting in like individuals' LinkedIns into the Mejeticks GPT and saying like, how can I give this specific person at what their role is at this company value, and making a connection with them. So it's been super helpful in creating, connections that I probably wouldn't have seen myself.
What's something in the technology space that is just, common for you guys now, but maybe not common for your parents or your grandparents? Like something that you've seen that you take for granted that old people, struggle with.
Can we say ChatGPT?
Sure, yeah,
I
think you want.
My answer would be ChatGPT. My parents, like anytime I'm doing anything, my dad is a successful businessman and he refuses to do anything with ChatGPT while I'm over here like asking ChatGPT what I should eat for dinner tonight. And I think that I definitely take it for granted, but it's definitely something that I hope he can become more open-minded to.
I think just playing around with it in general. Like my parents and people I know act like they're almost scared of it. Like, wait, it can do that? It's like, it doesn't hurt to just try it and plug it in. Not like, they asked me, can it like look at my Excel? I'm like, yeah, take a screenshot of it. Just play around with it. I think we, growing up, trying to use it for different ways are naturally doing that. But they are not as much.
I also think that, Lindsey, like kind of helps you learn how to prompt it better and anything else that you do in the future.
I agree.
Let's talk about sort of workplace culture. Do you guys prefer to be in the office, work from home, hybrid? What's ideal working scenario for you guys?
In the office for sure, especially at the age that we are, because I mean, whenever we have a question, I feel like I can turn and ask someone, or just listening in to your guys' calls, I can kind of listen and pick your guys' brains a little bit on how you interact with people. Maybe later in my career, a hybrid thing would work out better, but I think definitely now I want to be in the office.
How has COVID played a role into that? You know, because you were in the generation of the years where you either lost a year of high school and couldn't be with anybody, especially being in California, or you know, you lost a year of college. You know, from a social perspective, has that influenced, do you think, why you want to be
Yeah,
in
for
an office?
sure. COVID sucked for me. I hated Zoom classes and things like that. And I feel like as much as you say, like, oh, yeah, I'm on or I'm present, you're doing something else. Even I like to say I'm a good student. I was, like, coasting through those years, and just I love being around people. Maybe that's something that goes along with it as well. But, yeah, I never want to go back to that.
Camille?
Oh, I would completely agree. I think that personally I benefit better from being in office. Like Lindsey said, at this age that we're at, it's super important to build those connections personally and face to face. And I do think COVID played a big role on my outlook on that for me, just after seeing what being on Zoom every day could be like. I hope that I keep an in-person role throughout my career.
I completely agree. I think for me, I want an in-person job, honestly, for the rest of my life, because I feel like when I'm by myself or doing something remote, I'm not as present and plugged in. And Camille and I were actually talking about this at dinner. It's been so nice in the office that we've been able to actually get to ask y'all questions and get to learn more instead of just being by yourself trying to figure it out. And I think COVID played a big role for that for me. I was so excited, honestly, to do online school for the first week. And then after that, I was like, this is horrible. I'm not actually learning much. And then I came to college and realized there was a few things that, like, that, you know, sophomore year were critical for me to, like, have known academically that I kind of had missing gaps because I wasn't fully plugged in. And so I definitely think I prefer in person.
Yeah, if you thought that class in Zoom was bad, imagine trying to do happy hours on Zoom.
Yeah,
Like
no.
nothing, like if you take the Zoom away, like nothing makes you feel more like an alcoholic than shutting a
Yeah.
screen off and realizing that you're drinking by yourself in your house.
I've watched a couple
Like the
of
screen
those.
doesn't change
Yeah.
that. You're sitting in your house drinking by yourself.
Right.
So,
Right.
from your perspective, what, if anything, makes Mejeticks attractive to young professionals, that why they would want to work here, hopefully?
I think it's the perfect balance of we have a ton of fun and we work as a team, but then you sit down and you all work really hard. So I feel like that's naturally attractive to be around, and it does feel like a family culture. We've been here for like 1 or 2 weeks, and I love coming into the office every day. But I also think you get to learn a bunch of things, especially working in the industry that you guys, the channel, whether you want to go into technology, you don't know what you want to do, you're exposed to so many different industries, providers, customers, that it's a lot to get to absorb, and every day feels new and exciting.
I would completely agree. I love the fast-paced, fun environment. Mejeticks, like Lindsey was saying, is like work hard, play hard, and I think everybody exemplifies that very well. And it's been awesome as a 21-year-old getting to learn more about the tech industry and how it works, and all the knowledge that you guys have is amazing. And so I have like a foot in the door right now. I'm only a weekend, but it's been awesome.
I've been here for a week and a half, and I feel like I've learned so much more than I ever thought I could learn in a week and a half. And so it's been such a great atmosphere to be in. And I know that something that I've learned at TCU is how important company culture is. And I've heard people, you know, who are post-grad come back and talk about, look at the culture at a company. And that was something I was really looking for in an internship. And I feel like Mejeticks has the perfect company culture where I feel comfortable talking to everyone, asking questions, and it's a place that I get excited to go to work because I know that the people around me are inspiring and teaching me every day.
it's important for someone like me who's got 2 daughters to try to get people, women into the IT field, right? Were there any misconceptions that you guys had about IT before, starting and learning more about Mejeticks that maybe weren't, the reality is different than what you thought?
I think Lindsey and I talked about this in the car. Like, whenever you think of someone in the tech industry, stereotypically you think of like a nerd or like a super smart, nerdy guy, and a guy at that. And my eyes again have really been opened up into the industry of that. It's exactly the opposite. It's very cultured and well-rounded, and it's really for anyone who is interested in this topic.
I agree, and I also would add that IT is so broad, and you guys are all really smart, but you're not experts in every little thing. So whenever I think of an IT professional, I think, oh, they know all the answers. And I always question this because my mom's in a similar industry, and she calls herself an IT consultant, but she doesn't know how to respond to my Instagram story. So it's like, how do you know what to do? But you know how to leverage the relationships with your providers and technology like ChatGPT in order to get that way. So I think that's a little misconception that I'm like, oh, you can figure it out. You don't have to come in knowing everything.
I honestly, the first day when I was prospecting and reaching out to people, I was surprised by how many women CIOs and CTOs I was reaching out to. And it was honestly cool to see that there's a lot more in the field than I realized.
Cool. Let's see. If you can invent one piece of technology that doesn't exist.
I know what you're going to say.
I want to be able to teleport. Like, we were talking about it today because we're living in Fort Worth, commuting to Dallas, and we were sitting in traffic, and I was like, we should just be able to teleport. But you guys should do that.
Okay.
That's a hard question.
I'll work on it tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
That's a really hard question.
I think I'd want to mind read.
Yeah. Are we talking superpower-wise?
Well, I
Like-
made it.
Well, she's teleporting, so yeah, let's go superpower.
Mind reading.
Yeah, I'd love like something to be able to like tell me what the other person I'm talking to is thinking. Might be a good and bad thing.
I
but-
can think logistically on that question too, and get back to you.
One IT buzzword that you hear all the time, but you think is overhyped.
Honestly, like, we're throwing around those words like cloud, voice, security. Like, do we know what those mean? Like,
Yes.
in theory,
UCAS.
yes, but I mean, to us, all of them kind of sound like buzzwords.
Yeah. No, I would completely
don't wanna
agree. I'm
speak for the
still
group.
learning. No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one. One piece of advice you'd give to other students or recent grads about entering the tech industry.
I think just honestly, my piece of advice is just put yourself out there and go for it. I honestly didn't know too much about the tech industry, but I wanted to get into it. And so I was like, I'm just going to put myself out there and try to make it happen.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as Avery. I wanted to learn more about it. I think I would say you definitely need to be open-minded and adaptable. Like, the tech industry is always changing, always evolving, and you don't know what it's going to be next week or in a year or in 5 years. So you need to be able to have the head on your shoulders to adapt and change as it changes.
I like getting out of your comfort zone. I would also add that being able to balance just listening silently, but also bringing in the way that we normally operate. We know how to work ChatGPT. If you don't know the answers, Google it, but put your own little spin on it, but try to learn from those around you too. But I would emphasize, if you don't know the answer, if something's not working, it's probably a Google question.
Or ChatGPT.
Or a Claire question.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, don't be afraid to ask questions. I feel like my first day I was asking a lot of questions and kind of was, like, worried about that. But I've realized, like, that's just how you learn.
Yeah, you need to be ready to learn.
All right, you guys got to ask me one question each.
Who's your favorite?
Wow. Claire is my favorite.
That was good.
If you could, with all the challenges that we're doing today, or this summer, if you could add one challenge, what would it be?
Well,
Like our
that's
Olympic
great that you
challenge?
bring it up because I have a new challenge
Oh, God.
that we thought of. We are going to put a contest together, and the prize is going to be $1,000 for the person who starts a spam TikTok account and produces content about Mejeticks that gets the most followers by the end of the summer.
Okay.
So the three
Challenge
of you,
accepted.
Game on.
Okay.
Individual accounts.
individual accounts that are Mejeticks based that have the most followers by the end of the summer,
Okay.
the winner will get $1,000.
Camille gets a
Challenge
little like leverage because she's like the marketing person. That's her specialty.
No.
You all have ChatGPT. You all have TikTok. You
True.
are all experts in this field.
It's true.
What's your question, Camille?
If you could give one piece of advice to any college graduate entering the tech world, what would it be?
Well, I would say in general, my rule of thumb is don't be late. But I think it's got to be something that you're interested in, right? And you don't need to be, a gamer or a tech nerd. If you're just curious about how things work, right? That's all technology based now. Unless you're building a wooden bench, like everything has technology in it. So if that makes you curious, then ask questions and get involved in technology. There's so many different facets. It's not again just being the nerd who's the programmer in the basement with no windows, right? It could be somebody who is in marketing, right, or in sales, or in product management, like helping to not only create the products, but hey, how do I figure out how they're priced? How do I figure out who the ICP is for this? There's so many different ways that you can be in technology but not be a tech person, right? And I think the overall technology vertical will benefit a lot by getting different points of view from people who aren't tech nerds. I think one of the biggest issues we have in the tech space is tech people building products but not being able to explain how they can help people, or inventing something that no one can really use, right? So the more non-tech savvy people we get into the space, I think the better off technology in general will be.
Great point.
My question is, what made you want to get into this field and then create your own company with it?
I was an early adopter of computers. I've had computers that you guys don't even know existed before. And then I'd worked for a bunch of different vendors, right? And my job as a salesperson was to make sure my customer called me when they needed something, right? When something went wrong, I was their first phone call. I've always had my cell phone on my business card, right? I want you to call me first so I know what's going on so I can direct you how to get something fixed. And that's what really builds trust for when a customer has a problem. They go, hey, Rob, I need help with this problem. The goal isn't to sell someone a product. It's to fix or help them with a business issue. And as I worked for different vendors, the problem that I found is that I've got all these great relationships with people, and they're coming to me asking me for help, and I can only sell them the stuff that my company sells. So if I only sell red cars and they need a blue one, I can't help you. Like I can point you in the guy who sells the best blue cars, but like I don't know for a fact that that's the best blue car. So then when I started Mejeticks, it was really the ability for me to help like the entire customer. There's very few times where I have to go and say, hey, you know what? I can't help you because we don't have a solution for that. And that's really powerful for me, I think, when I'm talking to customers and being able to say, hey, I can help you with 90% of your IT stuff. And you don't have to go and source, 7 different people and get their opinions on things. It's our job at Mejeticks to make sure our customers are more educated when they're buying IT services and that they're getting them at a fair market price. Like that's our only job here, is to make sure that customers make more educated decisions when they're buying IT services. And, I feel like we've created a company here where we enable our employees to go ahead and do that for our customers.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's all we got for today, guys. I really appreciate you guys, spending some time here. Maybe we'll check in at the end of the summer and see if any of our answers have changed. But thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you
so
for having
much.
us.
And at the end, we'll have to see who won the contest.
That's right.
Me too.
Thanks for tuning in to the IT Masters podcast, where technology's top leaders share their winning strategies. Subscribe now and stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of IT. Until next time, keep innovating and leading the way.